Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. A brother has sent a question that I've heard that Adam's first wife was not Eve, rather it was Lilith. Lilith, who left Adam on whatever controversy she had with Adam, and she then moved away, and she started living her own life and got in touch with demons and then started a new line of offsprings. So God gave Adam another wife in the form of Eve. How much truth there is to this story? Was there a woman by the name of Lilith? And if there was, then what is the source of this information? Let me tell you one thing before I get started. Prophet Adam, as we know as Muslims, alayhi salam, he is mentioned along with his wife in the Quran and in the books of tafsir and the books of hadith. We do not find anywhere in the any Islamic source the name Lilith or another wife of Adam besides Hawa alayhi salam, or a story that there was a woman by the name of Lilith who left Adam and moved away. Now you got to remember that in Jannah there is no controversy of that sort that you would face in this world. Jannah is a totally different kind of a place where Adam and Hawa were living. So where does this thing Lilith originates? Well, it has its basis in Judaism. And if you start looking at the early Judaic sources, you will not find any reference of this particular word Lilith. So where exactly does it come from? Where it is used in the alphabet of Ben Sira. This book was written somewhere almost like 1,000 to 1,200 years ago. And this text is one of the earliest sources to explicitly describe Lilith as Adam's first wife. And according to the tale, and this is Jewish tale, that Lilith was created from the same soil as Adam, making her equal to him. So when Adam demanded her submission, Lilith refused and fled to the Red Sea, where she became a demon. God later created Eve from Adam's rib to ensure she would be submissive, because Lilith was not submissive, as she was created from the same sand or clay from where Adam was created, and since she was not created from Adam, she became extremely unsubmissive. So this story emphasizes themes of independence and equality, portraying Lilith as a symbol of rebellion. Also, if you go 300 years further, in the 13th century, the Zohar, which is a Jewish mystical text. So in Kabbalistic interpretation, the Zohar, a foundation work of Kabbalah, refers to Lilith in the context of cosmic and mystical forces. It describes her as a demonic figure associated with lust, seduction, and disruption of human relationships. And she is often paired with Samael, a demonic counterpart, and is seen as the female principle of impurity, contrasted with the holy Shekinah. And also, if you start looking at Talmud, so you would find in the Talmud, in the tractate Shabbat 151b, that while the Talmud doesn't directly link Lilith to Adam, just remember it mentioned her as a night demon, dangerous to infants and women in childbirth. And also in Talmud, we find that a possible allusion to her is made in discussions about the creation of man and women, though her role as Adam's wife is not elaborated in Talmud. And if you're looking at Midrashic literature, especially Genesis Rabbah, this Midrash explores the dual creation accounts in Genesis. Genesis chapter number 1 verse 27 and chapter number 2 verse 22, suggesting that the first creation of man and woman was simultaneous and possibly refers to Lilith, while the second describes Eve's creation from Adam's rib. So there is some sort of a vague reference, but we do not find the word Lilith anywhere in the Genesis. And if you look at the Pirkei de Rabbi Elazar from the 8th and the 9th century, he mentions and titles that it resembles Lilith as spirits or forces opposing God's creation. And also, if you look at Jewish magical and folk traditions, you will find that Lilith appears prominently in Jewish magical texts and amulets designed to protect mothers and newborns. So might have been, there is a possibility that it has taken its account into, over the period of time people use fear to sell stuff. You never know. And also in folk tradition, they described her as the mother of the other demonic beings like the Lilith and associate her with nocturnal seduction. So while not any ancient source talks about Lilith, only the modern Jewish thought interprets Lilith as a feminist icon, emphasizing her defiance of male authority and her independence. So Lilith is not really in the original text, just so that you know. Now, some people say, well, in the Hebrew Bible, which is called the Tanakh, in Isaiah, chapter 34, verse number 14, the term Lilith appears in some translation. For example, wild cats shall meet hyenas, goat demons shall call to each other, and there too Lilith shall repose and find a place to rest. So in Hebrew, the word Lilith has been used, which is interpreted by some Jewish scholars as identifying this as a reference to a night demon or a screech owl based on the context and etymology, where others see this as a poetic or symbolic term for chaos, and many ancient translations in Greek and in Latin avoid identifying Lilith as a specific being and render the term as a night creature or screech owl. And if you look at the Talmudic mentions, so we can go as back as a Babylonian Talmud, which refers to a female figure who has the power to harm infants or seduce men. And Babylonian Talmud also has the reference which mentions Lilith explicitly as a demon. And the text warns about her role in endangering children and women during childbirth. And later development, as I told you, in Midrash and mysticism, this term actually has been derived from Mesopotamian mythology, where the word Lailu or Lelitu were night spirit, which, as you can see in Arabic, also the word Layl is used for night. So it is very similar to that. So we do not find the word Lilith but in the Hebrew text, but we find it in the ancient Mesopotamian and the Semitic languages. And its meanings evolve based on its cultural and linguistic context, but it's consistently associated with night and spirits and feminine energy. So if you look at the Sumerian text, the term Lil in Sumerian means wind or spirit. It does not carry any negative connotation, but refers to a non-physical entity. But if you look at the Akkadian Babylonian terms, so in the Akkadian term, Lilitu refers to a female night spirit or demons. And these beings were taught to inhabit desolate places, cause harm to humans, and were associated with sexuality and childbirth. So in biblical Hebrew, Lilith is derived from its root word Layla, which means night. So the term carries association with darkness, the night, and by extension, mystery and danger, and referring constantly to the Isaiah book, chapter 34, verse number 14. And as I told you, in the rabbinic and the mystical associations, we find this word being used. And also in Kabbalah, the word is being used. And this word is being used in modern symbolism. So in summary, the literal meaning of this word is night or night spirit, and symbolic connotations include darkness, danger, rebellion, femininity, and mystery. So in short, this character of Lilith is not to be found but in some of the later on written books in Judaism. So the origin of the Lilith is mentioned in alphabet of Ben Sira and some Kabbalistic writings. And the story in concise goes like this, that according to legend, this is how it goes. According to legend, now there is no source, there's no reference that from where this legend story derived. It just says, according to legend, Lilith left Adam because she refused to submit to him, claiming equality since they were created from the same material, and then she fled to Red Sea. Now the question comes in, if they were in Jannah, how did she fled to the Red Sea? Or are you suggesting that Adam was sent down to the planet Earth and then Lilith came into existence, but you are also saying that Eve came into existence after Lilith, and how is it possible? It's just the whole story doesn't make sense. Anyway, according to this story, in the myth, Lilith is said to be the mother of Liliths, or demonic offspring. And there's no indication Lilith ever lived in the Garden of Eden in this particular folklore, so because they would have to answer all of these questions, that how in the world did she escape? So how did Adam meet her when Adam never left heaven and landed on the planet Earth? So all of this just doesn't make sense. And Lilith is considered more of a mythical or supernatural being than human, and she does not have a clear death in the stories. And Eve, in contrast, is explicitly described in Genesis as being created from Adam's rib after Lilith. So this is the Jewish version of Lilith. So she's a figure in Jewish folklore, and she's described as Adam's first wife. It is not mentioned in the Bible, but appears in the various midrashic texts and later Jewish mystical tradition. So Lilith basically is a complex figure with both positive and negative connotations. So some people present her as a powerful individual, some as a female independence and defiance symbol. But if you start looking at the accounts of Lilith, you will see that Lilith is being claimed to be created from the dust of the earth, like Adam. And she refused to submit and left the Garden of Eden is another story that comes forth besides the one that says she never lived in the Garden of Eden. So how did she left the Garden of Eden without God's permission? How did she do that? It's not like you're living in a backyard and you decide to go out into the neighbor's backyard. It's not like that. So she's often associated with the night. And some stories suggest that she became a demoness. So she left and she met demons somehow, and she herself became a demoness, and she started harming children and infants. And after leaving Adam, Lilith is said to have married various figures, including an angel called by the name of Samael. Because remember, in biblical tradition, the idea of an angel is not exactly the same as is in the Islamic tradition. If you want to understand that difference, let me know in the comment section below, and we can talk about that as well. Because in Bible, we constantly hear the word fallen angel, which is typical biblical idea of the angel. Islamic idea of the angel is not that. So it is said in the Jewish text that she married an angel who was an outcast angel by the name of Samael. So in order to create more lies, Lilith was created from the earth like Adam. So Eve is considered Adam's second wife in the biblical narrative. Doesn't come in the Bible itself. Now, what do Christians believe? Well, Lilith is since not mentioned in the Bible. So Lilith is of no importance in Christianity. So Lilith is not part of mainstream Christian theology and is not mentioned in the Bible. However, some interpret her as a representation of rebelliousness or as a demon figure influenced by the Jewish folklore. But primarily, Christians focus on Eve and Adam and consider Eve as the Adam's first and only wife created from his rib as described in Genesis. So when it comes to Islamic texts, including the Quran and Hadith, do not mention Lilith. Adam's first wife is Hawa, or in English we call Eve, created from him as a partner. And there's no concept of Lilith's rebellion in Islamic teachings. Adam and Hawa's story focuses on their unity, a family life that is based on love and mutual respect. And their life is in the paradise and subsequent descent to earth after the forgetfulness. I think we've talked about that in great detail. We can talk more about it. But remember that the Lilith from the folklore represents the Jewish folklore. Lilith did not marry another human, but rather in the Jewish folklore we see that she mated with demons like Samael. Why demon? Because it's a fallen angel. Because to them even Satan is a fallen angel, which we do not believe as Muslims. We say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us in the Quran that Satan was a jinn. كَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ. And as far as the children of Lilith is concerned, her offsprings are often considered supernatural beings rather than humans. So Lilith was supposedly created at the same time as Adam, unlike Eve, who was created later on. So Lilith is often depicted as a supernatural figure, not a human being. So Eve, in comparison to Lilith, well, Eve is created from Adam, lived in the Garden of Eden, and is the biological mother of the human race. And Lilith, on the other hand, is a mythical figure from the Jewish folklore, often seen as a representation of independence or rebellion. So what happened to those offsprings of Lilith then? Well, we don't have a lot of answers there. So I just wanted to bring it forth so that, to answer this brother's question, or sister's question, I don't know. But the whole idea is there's no concept of Lilith in Islam or Christianity, or even in the original Jewish text. It is something that was introduced way later on into the Jewish text, and I don't know why. I have no idea. And even in those texts, there is no source from where they extracted this mythical character. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.